So I want to turn to Facebook in this next headline and Cambridge Analytica, because they gathered all the data, but Cambridge Analytica is getting a lot of the brunt of the ire and the outrage in the media, of course. But if there's one Cambridge Analytica, if there's one cockroach, there's thousands of other companies also collecting the same data. And there's Harvard Business coined the phrase surveillance capitalism. That's what we now live in, is surveillance capitalism. But I'll wind back to what they say is, in the wake of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, news articles and commentators have focused on what Facebook knows about us. A lot, it turns out. It collects data from our posts, our likes, our photos, things we type and delete without posting, and things we do while not on Facebook, and even when we're offline. It buys data about us from others, and it can infer even more: our sexual orientation, political beliefs, relationship status, drug use, and other personality traits, even if we didn't take the personality test that Cambridge Analytica developed. These surveillance capitalist corporations have been collecting a lot of data on us that we have mostly provided for free because we were getting a free service. Of course, many, especially in the cypherpunk community, have warned that there's no such thing as free lunch. If you're giving them your data for free, of course, you are the product.
That's like calling crocodiles surveillance capitalists, right? A crocodile is quiet in the water, waiting and waiting and waiting, and then they strike. So all the algorithms are in place, and these corporate jihadis are in place for an opportunity to make itself apparent, and then they predatorily jump in and rip to shreds the prey. In this case, the unsuspecting consumer or voter or citizen who is now being torn to shreds by the crocodile capitalist.
Well, they point out, this Harvard Business thing points out that, but for every article about Facebook's creepy stalker behavior, thousands of other companies are breathing a collective sigh of relief that it's Facebook and not them in the spotlight. Because while Facebook is one of the biggest players in the space, there are thousands of other companies that spy on and manipulate us for profit. It's called surveillance capitalism. There are 2,500 to 4,000 data brokers in the United States alone. Equifax is one of them. Of course, they basically are a private company that gives a social credit score to you. They collect data on you and tell banks whether or not you're trustworthy and whether or not you should be given access to any credit. That's one well-known company. But surveillance capitalism takes this one step further. Companies like Facebook and Google offer you free services in exchange for our data. Google's surveillance isn't in the news, but it is startlingly intimate. We never lie to our search engines. Our interests and curiosities, hopes and fears, desires and sexual proclivities are all collected and saved. Add to that the websites we visit that Google tracks through its advertising network, our Gmail accounts, our movements via Google Maps, and what it can collect from our smartphones.
So what's the difference between Facebook and this new super gonorrhea that's completely resistant to all antibiotics? In other words, there's no cure for Facebook now.
Yes, there is. It's called delete your account.
But you're saying it's cross-platform. The surveillance capitalism infiltrated every single orifice of our interaction with each other and our interaction with the cyberspace. That's the super gonorrhea.
It's called the Dewey Decimal System. It's called going to the library and researching in that space again. It's getting rid of your smartphone. Okay, well, surveillance capitalism drives much of the internet. It is behind most of the free services and many of the paid ones as well. Its goal is psychological manipulation in the form of personalized advertising to persuade you to buy something or do something, like vote for a candidate. And while the individualized, profile-driven manipulation exposed by Cambridge Analytica feels abhorrent, it's really no different from what every company wants in the end. This is why all your personal information is collected, and this is why it is so valuable. Companies that can understand it can use it against you.
It's gaslighting. It's gaslighting on an industrial scale. They attack the subconscious mind, they get you confused, and then they rip you off. It should be illegal. It's anti-constitutional. It's crocodile capitalism. It's frickin' super gonorrhea from Mark Zuckerberg. There's no cure for it. No whatever it's called, what am I trying to say?
Anti-free speech, anti-censorship, they censor you. I myself have not been on Facebook for the last 3 months simply because we were in Miami. I took a photo in which there was a Native American artwork behind us, and it's not breasts, but it's like breast-like figures. It looks like there's some breasts in there, and they won't let me back onto the platform unless I go through every single photo I've ever uploaded in the past 10 years and confirm that each photo is not, there is no pornographic imagery in it.
It's like, you know, the punk revolution. They've kicked back against all this back in the day. All right, well, don't go away. Come back after the break. I will be blowing your mind. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to turn to Bill Ottman of Minds.com. Bill, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so it's Minds, MINDS.com.
That's it.
All right. This is going to be an interesting kind of look at social media. In this day and age of hashtag delete Facebook, you provide an alternative with Minds.com. Tell us about your platform. What is it? When did you build it?
Started in 2011, so we've been going for a while, just trying to build something that can actually scale. But so it's different in that it's open source. Anyone can inspect the code, share it. Free software movement, which I know you all have covered with Stallman and everything, essential. Like the next major networks have to be free software. Encrypted, so we don't take even personal information, we don't require it. You earn crypto for your activity on the app. This is sort of an emerging trend that people need to be rewarded for their energy on networks.
Okay, so started in 2011, and it's following the free open source software movement, if you will, FOSS, which goes back to Richard Stallman and his proselytizing of this as being necessity to encourage best practices on the internet. And now we are in the wake of the huge Facebook meltdown, the revelation that all kinds of data has been sold. So Minds.com, number one, you're monetizing folks for their activity, which they don't do on these other social platforms. So Facebook's making a lot of money on other people's work.
Right.
So you're compensating people for their work.
Yeah, and in addition, no ridiculous algorithms that limit people's reach. So our news feed's 100% organic, so you'll always reach all of your followers. I mean, it's insane that they thought that that was okay at all to do. And then additionally, you earn the tokens, and then you can boost your content for more views with the tokens that you earn. So we're actually trying to get people's voices heard.
So it's kind of a feedback loop. So you can take your tokens that you're earning and invest in yourself, so to speak, to get a wider reach, thinking that you can actually build a better presence. And so how's the growth? You mentioned you're scaling the project. How is the growth doing, and how's the growth been in the wake of this Facebook scandal?
It's pretty good. I mean, we're around 1 million users, and daily signups have doubled. I mean, all of these things, whether it's censorship or surveillance or algorithms or demonetization, this just causes people to seek out new platforms.
Right, so the privacy is maintained because you don't actually keep the data, or you don't have...
We don't require people to identify themselves at all. You can be totally anonymous if you want.
Okay, and so who's the competitor in this space, if anybody?
I mean, I consider everyone who's open source and working with crypto to be sort of a collaborator. Honestly, there's sort of a movement of networks that are on the same page. So yeah, you could call them competitors, but I consider the proprietary surveillance networks to be the real competitors. So like I would say, Diaspora, Mastodon, Steemit. These types of places are at least involved in the right direction. But I mean, for instance, with Steemit, I do have some criticisms on like sort of the whale economy going on within it, but I still think that they're up to good stuff generally. Okay, so the token on your site is what? What's it called? Minds. The Minds token. Yeah. And was there an ICO? No. Right. Well, we're easing into token sale, but we're running on testnet too. We're essentially doing airdrops every day of tokens for people's contributions. So based on your % contribution to the community and engagement, that's the % daily rewards you get of our pool. Okay, so that is like Steemit to a degree, because there's a certain amount of Steemit that's kind of released on a regular basis, and then people are creating content for some of that Steam. Theirs is more allocated in regards to voting power of an individual. So I think the more Steam you have, the more voting power you have. That's not really how it works on Minds. On Minds, based on more of the raw metrics and engagement that you're getting from the whole community, everyone's vote is more equal on our system. Yeah.
And all the major economists like Nouriel Roubini and Paul Krugman and the heavyweights, the Nobel Prize winners, have all uniformly said that crypto and tokens are garbage. So, I mean, how are you going to find a heavyweight in the space that's going to, aside from myself, of course, who's going to come in and work this all out?
I mean, this whole field of tokenomics is like a rapidly emerging field. So I think that there are not really old school experts on it, but there are people who have good insights on what a sort of microeconomy would look like and how to make it healthy.
So you are obviously very concerned about leaking data to outside vendors. What do you? Let me ask you this. So there was this whole scandal recently. Apparently, some YouTube user went over to YouTube, Google, and started shooting up people.
Yeah.
Because she was unhappy about her treatment on the platform. What is your reaction? Because you're in that business. What was your first reaction? What do you think?
Yeah, that's really scary. I mean, it's such a sad situation. I think that, so she was upset about being discriminated against. She was upset about her view count going down, these types of issues about being censored. I think that what we're doing actually research on this right now, that censorship and abuse by these platforms actually amplifies violence and extremism. So while Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube think that, okay, we're going to ban all this speech, we're going to demonetize, we're going to push it off of our platforms. Okay, in the short term, that makes you have your nice little safe, happy place, but you're actually pushing the problem onto other places and you're further causing radicalization to occur. So, I think a more mature perspective on it is to, I take the Daryl Davis approach as this guy who converted like hundreds of members of the KKK, an African-American man who befriended them, had an honest conversation, tried to have the dialogue, and they all turned over their robes. Like, that's the type of mentality that we need with trolls.
I remember that story. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But you've brought up a very interesting point here. So you're saying that an attempt to censor merely pushes the problem to other platforms and it metastasizes and actually creates a trend toward violence, more violence.
Yeah, there's actually a number of studies that prove this.
And so, it's like when you have, you push down on one area and it just pops up on another. I forget my metaphor.
Toothpaste tube.
Right.
Yeah.
Something. I'm out of metaphor suddenly. We're out of time, Bill. Thanks for being on the Keiser Report.
Thanks for having me, Max.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report. With me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Bill Ottman of Minds.com. If you want to catch us on social media, it's on Twitter at Keiser Report. Please don't shoot.
Or Minds.
Yeah, we'll soon be on Minds.
Soon be,
Thanks,
hopefully.
Bill. Bill, I said goodbye already, and here you are, pumping Minds.com. Well, fair enough. Until next time, bye, y'all.